What is up, my people? Welcome to episode 5 of my weekly vinyl review. My name is LESTER Pywell, and some of you might also know me as the Jester. The reason I bring that up is because today we're looking at psytrance, and one of my favorite old school producers, Shiva Chandra. The release in question is a remix EP of the classic Schaukelstuhl, which is German for rocking chair, and one cannot notice there's actually an office chair on the front of the cover, but that's not important. The reality is that the remix EP is a complete goldmine, and I'm going to go through those tracks with you now. Okay, and this EP was released on Spirit Zone Recordings in 2001. It comes shortly after the release of the original, and I'm going to speak through the remixes and which one is my favorite. So Shiva Chandra is of course Daniel Vernunft, but I will speak through the remixes, and the very first remix up is by Auricula. And that, of course, is Daniel Vernunft paired up with Thomas Johansson. It's essentially one of the more intense tracks on the EP, but with Daniel Vernunft involved in the remix, it has a nice, refreshing take on the track. Remix number 2 is by Sebastian Kruger, SBK, and this is a lot more go-esque, sort of trippy take on the track, a lot more synthy and certainly more playful. Remix number 3 is by Haldolian, better known as Mario Rensch and Mark Lorenzen, and their take entails a crisp, groovy percussion. They keep the tracks almost helicopter-like synth, while definitely putting out a more driving version of the track. And then finally, remix number 4, and it happens to be one of my favorite on the EP, is by Sasha Hasker, better known as Bitmonks. And the version that Bitmonks achieves is certainly one that's a bit more like tongue-in-cheek. It's got massive drive to it, a bit more dance floor orientated potentially, and it just has that attitude that I like in a track. Yeah, and my story behind this track is I bought this EP in 2001, shortly after it was released in the UK through old Psy Shop. And it comes at a time where the music that I was collecting for psytrance was very much more from the more German French sound. Guys like Shiva Chandra, PPS Project, Auricula, of course Snug as a Bug, Paps, Droidlock. This was kind of this darker, more minimal, not quite progressive, but tech trance, as we called it back then. And the sound that I was very much into and collecting at the time. And of course, while I was in the UK, there was this scene developing back home in South Africa, already stemming from the 90s. And basically in this 2-year period that I was in the UK, I was just pretty much collecting this kind of sound. And this was all in lieu of me going home and actually becoming the Jester, which is something that some of you might be familiar with. But yeah, this would have been one of the first records I collected back in those days. And that is it, guys. Thanks so much for joining me again. And if you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, subscribe. And don't forget to join me next week. See you soon. Cheers.